Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Check Writers Room. Three GPs, three angles, one hot take.
I'm Yasmin Cruz-Farine.
I'm Shalonda Armstrong.
My name is Sydney Thomas. Let's get into it. We're so excited about the spicy episode that we have for you all today. We have some influencer energy, and so we're going to add some, I think, interesting topics that we've seen on the gram. Which brings me to our hot take. Shalonda, what are we going to discuss?
Yeah, so I know I feel like I'm turning to the hot take generator, and that's okay. But we need to say this part out loud, okay? Um, I know there's a lot of conversation around Emma Grede and some of the things in the comments that have been said, and I hope founders have been paying attention and not to what she said, but to the part of the Kardashian marketing machine still works in the age of AI. And you are watching all of these influencers fall for the okie doke. That is the hot take I have. What are we arguing about? She is literally operating off the Kardashian playbook and showing how you can make these moments and capitalize on them and expand her brand. And I love it. She's having a master class on go-to-market strategy and showing us that AI can't do everything when it comes to marketing and getting your product out there in the world. And that sometimes the old playbook, actually you have to go back to it and it still works.
Okay, wait. So roll it back a little bit. What did she say, and what are the streets saying in response? Why are people upset?
She's on a press run right now. And with that press run, she's had a lot of hot takes around women in the workplace, working from home. We don't have to go into the details of whether it's right or wrong, but it's the fact that she's using those clips and those moments and it's creating other viral moments. And then you have all of these influencers searching for relevance that are latching onto it, and it's only making it bigger for her. And I have a lot of confidence that she intentionally did it that way. So I think there's a lot of things that we can learn from this moment, not get caught up in the noise, but look at the execution of it. And I think that her go-to-market strategy is absolutely a masterclass right now for founders of how to get attention and continue to build out your company and your brands.
I think digging into the specifics, like what people are missing and why I think they fell for the okie doke, is because she actually had an agency that brought in brands partnerships with celebrities, like before the Kardashians. So she really understands marketing. And I think one of the things that she knows as a marketer is that when you do A/B testing, unfortunately, negative messaging always outperforms, right? So we're talking about a hot take. She knew she needed hot takes to land to do a very classic storytelling archetype, which is I'll become the villain for a little while. Then people will feel they're the hero and have these thoughts, and then they'll cover me. And I think why it's so important, and I think to your point, Shalonda, she's not fighting it, and that's why we think it was planted and designed this way, is because when reporters asked her how she felt about the reactions and the feedback, she said, if people aren't talking, then I would wonder what went wrong. So she's not even addressing the feedback. But I think the other thing to note, like analyze it from a playbook perspective, is particularly she has a message around female founders and Black female founders, and she's connected to the 15% pledge, which is focused on creating shelf space for Black owned companies. So therefore, we're a great audience for her from a background perspective and as consumers to buy her book. But this group, this demographic, we left Twitter. So there's a distribution issue, right? Like we are fragmented.
Good. Yeah.
Right? So we're trying to find a home. Some folks are on Threads. Maybe some folks are on Spill. Shout out to Portco. in other places, right? But we're not all in one place. So she needed to be everywhere. And she did it, y'all. She went viral, right? Like, and then the other piece, like why this strategy works so well is she like turned around in the midst of controversy and she's in Maui at Oprah's house, right? Like she parlayed this into going and sitting with the queen, right? Like she's done the things. One of our colloquialisms is don't hate the player, hate the game. That is how you need to look at how she landed this book. I think Sheryl Sandberg with her book Lean In, there was quite a takedown. Like she went from high on the pedestal, especially in tech, to you didn't give the privilege disclaimer. If you listen to Emma, she does give the privilege disclaimer. And she also says, if you're not looking to have this rigorous of a career, that's fine, right? Like that's on you. And she acknowledges that she's actually come a long way from where she started. I think what did not work with Sheryl Sandberg's form of feminism is that lack of acknowledging privilege. But I think you have kind of a great take on why are we looking to her for a feminist take?
Yeah, I think we had like this whole girl boss era that we grew up in where I think as soon as they got to the top, we just saw takedown after takedown after takedown happen. I'm thinking, what was that like facial cup Glossier? Remember her takedown? It just was aggressive. And in that moment, I remember thinking through like, okay, maybe there is some merit to these takedowns. Maybe they aren't great managers. Maybe we should have hold these women to a higher standard. And I just want to say bless her heart to Sydney as of that Sydney of 2018 who had that reaction because now as the owner, operator, and manager of a company, I can't imagine someone holding me to the bar that I was holding these women to back then. And I think the same is true for Emma Grede. Emma Grede is an influencer. She runs Skims. It's a corset company. She's not hiding who she is. I think that she's actually very transparent about who she is and who she wants to become. And so let's just let her have that. I'm really proud of her. I'm really excited to have that example in the ecosystem. And we also need hundreds of other examples in the ecosystem that we can point to because no singular person is going to be perfect for everyone or the perfect prototype for what type of boss or leader you might want to be. I also think now that we are in this new age of like, Gen Z's in the workplace, they weren't really in 2018 when we were starting with the like real first generation of the girl boss takedown era. Gen Z has thoughts about how they want to interact with management, how they want to interact with work more generally. I think I've seen a number of research articles on the fact that Gen Z actually really likes this life where they are have four or five different side hustles. They don't want to run a company and become this like become Oprah. They actually may just want to be, uh, comfortable in a life that doesn't require them to have that level of exertion or exertion. And that's okay too.
Emma Grede understands her freaking customer. Emma Grede knows that she has to sell a book. Who is the top demographic that buys books, especially self help books? It happens to be women of color. How do you actually get to women of color? To Yasmin's point, we are now fragmented based on where we consume our information because we are in all of these different platforms. So she is going from sitting down with Oprah to sitting down with Angie Martinez. That is a big leap, right? And she has all, and then she's sitting with Kiki Palmer, so she's going after that Gen Z group as well. And I really wish everyone would stop getting so consumed with the noise and really pay attention to what she's doing and how do we apply that to our companies, our brands, whatever we're building, because that is the world that we're operating in. And we can fight it all we want, or we can figure out how to participate in it. And I would say, founders, if you don't know your customer intimately and the nuances of your customer, like the way that Emma does, like you're not ready for venture dollars yet because that is when we say who is your customer, that is the level of detail and nuance that we're looking for of really understanding your audience.
I do think oftentimes, I think what they're trying to say in the noise is that they feel that being in the workplace has been particularly violent to them in some way, shape, or form. And we are seeing, these massive layoffs, particularly hitting Black women. I want to acknowledge that. And I think the way to have that conversation is to actually put yourself in the as the main character in that story instead of trying to say it's Emma Greed's fault, Emma Greed's responsibility, Emma Greed's anything. It's it is a systemic issue. Emma Greed did not start it. She can't finish it. And so how do we continue to encourage, back to both of your guys' points, the fact that we don't have these, sister circles on Twitter anymore? Like maybe we do need to find our own safe spaces online where we can have those harder conversations and more vulnerable conversations. But I don't think Emma Greed is our pathway there.
And Emma, we welcome you to join us on the pod. We would love to have you. And
Yes.
we would love to go into what was your go to market for your book tour, because we do think that founders could learn a lot from this.
Amazing. Okay, so with that, let's transition into what are we investing in? What are we looking at? What are we excited about? Yaz, it sounds like you have something for us this week.
Yes. So I invested in a company that's currently in stealth mode, which is common in venture. This founder left their former company and has been building this company, raised a full round, closed and oversubscribed. Originally was raising 7.5 million, and now it actually brought in a little over 9, and was able to do that without sort of being more public and visible. This company, essentially what they do is it's a maritime company that uses an existing energy fueling method that has been used for Navy submarines for over 70 years. So it's not new, but it's nuclear energy powered shipping capabilities. And essentially, think of a small nuclear reactor like a Lego brick that will power cargo ships. And this team was the team that actually got me initially excited. It's former SpaceX, former Blue Origin, former Northrop Grumman, former Toyota. Like clearly PhDs are a part of the team. Clearly the technical capability mattered. Another piece of this that mattered for us that we had to underwrite is proximity to DOE, right? So back to the DC conversation, the amount of capital that will be required across the life of this company will require some DOE grant. So therefore, we want to make sure that the founder is not new to this ecosystem. And he also needs to hire naval submarine officers in this who have this nuclear skill set. And we want to make sure that he has access to talent. So all of those pieces were in place. I think what is an important on the unit economics is what this company is doing is for naval nuclear and bringing the cost from, $1 billion at the naval specs to commercial grade to down to about 100 million, which is kind of like, okay, we're talking about price points that require a lot of capital. But the last piece that I'll add that made this an interesting company to invest in is there's been more regulatory changes around nuclear in the past 2 years than the last 2 decades. So we have kind of an opening up of the regulatory environment to make this plausible. And, in the world we live in now that we're all investing in, energy is a real part of the conversation. Cleaner energy, more reliable energy, and this is a moonshot, right? Like a lot here can go not as expected or be delayed, and be capital intensive. But there were so many critical pieces that actually made this exciting. More than 90% of the global supply chain is still in cargo maritime. Like we're still talking container ships.
Oh,
So
wow.
I don't want to hear, okay, yeah, the nuclear maritime market is currently infinitesimal compared to addressable markets we look at. But when you zoom out to the shipping overall logistics market, we're talking 500 billion, like on the conservative side for the addressable market.
That is fascinating. I have so many questions. This also just back to what's going on in the world, like what's the Strait of Hormuz. It's been interesting to see how that one passageway is mucking up so many different economies. And so it feels like this is particularly relevant around transportation of resources via the ocean is particularly, I think, in the news right now. It is such a complex market and so many things have to go right. What was it like? What got you comfortable saying, like, we trust this company to do enough right that they can move towards that $500 billion like market, knowing that no company gets it all right.
Two aspects are present here. One is we met the founder, I don't know, 4 years ago. My partner that was the lead on this deal and had been building rapport with this founder in prior roles that all kind of align to being the CEO here. He was essentially an ops and government liaison for kind of a pre-commercialized aviation and also tugboat innovation. So had the kind of pre-commercialization to a novel, and had to get government funding to build into kind of a non-classic VC capital route, and then also then spent time in maritime. So I think the combination of deeper tech, right, timelines, and also the maritime relationships, like with ports in particular, because there's two specific ports that are in conversation, and one is in an LOI phase, that also added to kind of what does the revenue pipeline look like.
So I love when companies are in stealth. How do you guys manage connecting them and helping them kind of expand their relationships when they are in this stealth mode?
I do think in this particular sector that is common. One of the things we look for at Visible Hands and Founders is resource magnetism and understand how that translates to attracting customers, to attracting talent. And right now he has a strategic LOI with a customer that's kind of the bulk of, and they have an NDA, right? And then he's at the phase of hiring. And I want to say one of the things that I love most about the work that we have the honor and privilege of doing is seeing founders build companies that they would want to work for and hire a diverse talent pool and seeing how that shapes out. So the founder hired one of the only qualified naval officers to be a part of this early first team, happens to be a woman who is like a specialist in nuclear energy. And when you see the picture of his early team, it's like, yeah, this is who you want to build this company. And I was just so happy that this woman has this amazing potential generational wealth opportunity. and the skill set to do this. So I think there are aspects of building resources at this pre-seed stage where that dynamic is a little bit difficult to navigate, but where he's at now, it's all solvable.
Sometimes founders don't want to oversubscribe the round because they don't want to dilute their own ownership. And so it can impact folks getting cut from the round who might have been valuable, or, and other times investors don't want to see an oversubscribed round because they had a very specific vision on what they wanted the founder to accomplish with this specific amount of capital. I'm curious how you made the decision to um, be excited about the oversubscribed round in this case.
Ultimately, he's going to need a lot of capital to build this business. One could argue that 9 million at this stage isn't even enough, right? One of the things that he has to do early on is purchase like available energy sources that, like, again, already exist. It's not like he's buying, enriched uranium here, but the more energy he buys at this phase, the better unit economics. So that was one of the expenses that mattered early on.
I think also this is a testament to, you and your team's ability to really build and maintain those relationships with founders, right? You guys start this relationship with this founder 4 years ago as they were going through their career trajectory and just trying to connect the dots. And so when it came time to actually winning allocation in that oversubscribed round, you were able to get it. And so I think that's another part of this that doesn't get talked about enough of we have to build these relationships with founders very, very, very early to really understand, one, do they have the grit and everything else, the intangibles to be a founder? But then also, on the other side of that, founders love when VCs actually genuinely want to get to know them, and it's not from a space of I just need to get into your round because I have a specific ownership target I need to hit. So I think that's just kudos to you and your team and what you guys have been able to build at Visible Hands.
Completely agree. Completely agree. Congratulations. It sounds so exciting, and what a time to be building in this space.
Yeah, I'm excited. So if you have this capability or skill set, holler at me, DM me. If you're a naval officer who works on submarines, nuclear submarines, call me.
Awesome. Well, that brings us to the last segment of our podcast. We are digging into a theme or news article that we are watching this week. I was really excited to see Reese Witherspoon start talking to women about how we need to participate in AI. The research that she quoted on her Instagram, I'm not sure if that was particularly accurate. I have some thoughts on it. But the premise on the fact that women need to be a part of this revolution instead of let it pass us by, I think is spot on. Oftentimes, women are the project managers of their entire household. Claudette can do that for you. You can get support, this support that maybe you wouldn't have been able to otherwise pay for in home is now available to you via some of these service providers. And I just don't know if like women have made the conscious decision around like the analysis that something like an AI can, the good that something like an AI can provide to them personally, like as a human, as a mom, as a daughter, as a sister, and all of the additional work that comes from being a woman in the world. And I just wish us to live softer lives with more leisure, with more support that we deserve. And I believe that while Claude isn't perfect, it is a step in that direction.
AI is here to stay. And so either we get on board or we're going to get left behind. But I also want to take it back to these other transformation moments in history where women took a little bit longer to lean in, right? All the way back to the early 1900s and the automobile, right? And that advancement in technology. And for a while, and I understand that there was patriarchy and everything else included of why women weren't driving. Um, and then you think about the internet, right? And when that was taking off and women were taking their time And so what happened was that advancement was still happening, but then it became a place that wasn't safe, a place that we couldn't trust, a place that there was a lot of guardrails that we had to put in place. But it was after, women started to lean in and say, well, no, this is why this is concerning to me. And so I do think it's important for women to absolutely start to use these tools, lean in, give the feedback, because the quicker that women are able to give that feedback around this type of technology, the more secure it's going to be, the easier it works for everyone and not just one subgroup.
Yeah, I think this is so important from the responsible AI perspective. Is so much of AI is about how it's designed, and if women don't have a seat at the table, and not just in the usage of it, but if we're not in the labs, you know, working at these companies that are going to be fundamental pieces of all of our lives, then to your point, like we're missing out. Actually, the first programmer was a woman, Ada Lovelace. Like, and somehow when we think about coding and we think about the effort to get women to code, like we don't think about the pioneers that were in place, right? And I think this is the same moment. I will say that at Visible Hands, we invested in a company that was AI native before AI was cool around the marketing research. And this founder, was pioneering in some sense because it wasn't cool. And I remember so many investors giving her a hard time because they didn't understand the technology. And, she was, I would say, had a harder fundraising path because of it. And so it can be really hard for women to be in these technical fields, but we need them there. And so, similarly, to your point, like you need to use the tool. It's a tool, right? There are going to be helpful aspects and there are going to be negative aspects. I think it was Mark Cuban saying like AI is not going to take your job, but the person who can use AI will take your job. I'm sure folks are going to say, well, you all are women in tech, right? Like, this is what you invested, like, shocker. Like, you all think this is something we all need to understand, but it's true. Like, we want to see outside of our work community mass adoption, and this could be an equalizer, right?
I think it's not something that we resist, but it's figuring out how do you make it work for you where it's comfortable for you. We're not saying that your whole life has to operate on AI, but we're also trying to say don't put your head in the sand and act like it's not there because it's not going away.
I think a lot of people see AI and they think, oh, this is a whole new thing that I need to learn and understand. And there's going to be like all this, there's going to be a test at the end or something. You probably are already using it. I shop at Vaughn's, and Vaughn's has an app that allows you to do meal prep in advance. And so they'll have recipes in the app. You can add the things you need from that recipes to your cart directly, and then you just can go and pick it up. I'm sure Vaughn's is using AI to actually build that internal tool. And so I didn't have to go anywhere else. I went directly to my Vaughn's app and that AI is there. And so in whatever app you already are using on your phone, AI is probably already there. And so I think that's also the flip side of this is like you're using it's already happening to you whether you like it or not, and so how can you actually be a part of this and leverage it so you can leverage it to design a life that gives you more time. And I think back to something that my parents went through around retirement, I think sometimes people resist having more time because they don't know what they will do with that time and it kind of scares them. I just think we also haven't been taught as folks who grew up in like this like achievement era what to do with leisure, what to do with rest, what to do with time. And so I'd say if that's a little scary to you, that's also cool and very natural. And so spend some time with that. Find a writing class, a book, a
Give
crocheting
tours at
class.
the museum.
Yes, tours at the
That's what I'm
museum.
gonna do in my retirement.
Sitting on the porch and yelling at the younger generation to get off your lawn, right? That's still an option, ladies and gentlemen. Like,
Gardening, right?
yes.
Go put a plant in a pot with Sydney.
Yes, come. Welcome. I just actually got these. They're in season and I'm smelling them right now. Oh my God.
Love it.
One thing I'll say about there not being a test for people who aren't interacting with Claudette or AI on a daily basis. When I tell them you don't need to know how to prompt, you just ask Claude to ask you questions and ask Claude to make the plan. People are shocked, right? And so there's no test. Just open up the browser, first of all, and ask some questions and get going.
I love that. Yep. I love that. Okay. So sounds like we have some good stuff giving us joy. We kind of already got there. One of the visions it seems like is giving us joy is imagining ourselves as 65-plus-year-old ladies on lawns slash in gardens. But what else is giving us joy right now?
Do not judge me. Everyone in the world, do not judge me.
Okay.
Real Housewives of Rhode Island. I've been waiting for a new franchise that would give me this type of entertainment. And these women, it's their accents, it's like their Italianness. Like I am enjoying it, and I don't know, the franchises fell off for me. And yeah, I love to think about nuclear energy, but sometimes I just need to let someone else's life wash over me and just sit there. And these women are serving everything for me. So special shout out to Alicia. I think she's my favorite of the Rhode Island housewives.
I love that because I didn't realize that there was a new franchise. So obviously you can tell that I'm not watching TV enough. So thank you. I think what's giving me joy right now, I want to say shout out to all of the WNBA athletes who have new contracts. They have huge paydays this season. It is bringing me so much joy to see them finally get their due. And so my only ask is please spend it responsibly. Don't be like the men. Let's not go and be broke within like 3 years after retirement. But I'm just so excited that they're finally getting sizable contracts for the effort and work to their craft that they put in. So that's what's bringing me joy. On top of it's tourist season, ladies. So I'm also excited about that.
Oh, Taurus season. Are you a Taurus?
Somebody has a birthday, yes.
Oh my
Somebody has
God.
a
I am
birthday.
a Taurus. I am a Taurus. My son is a Taurus. It's a lot of Taurus energy over here. And if anybody has issues with Taurus, I don't care. Okay, we're great people. And
That is the most Taurus response. I don't care.
what about you, Sydney? What's bringing you joy?
Oh, well, you guys always bring me joy. This is always so much fun. And I think, last week was a really big week for us at the firm. We just had our third annual general meeting, which was so lovely. I just love bringing our community together because it's only then that I think I'm able to actually reflect on everything we've built to that moment. It feels like in the moment, in the day to day, you can get caught up with the emails, just the stuff. You're just kind of caught in all the stuff. And so it's really nice once a year to take a minute and just reflect on everything that has happened. So just really proud. And we had it in San Diego, which was also a lot of fun because it was in my backyard in my hometown. And so my parents got to come, and um, yeah, it was just a really lovely few days.
I think an AGM for those outside of the industry is kind of like show and tell meets the family reunion
That's
or the
it.
cookout.
That's it. You're right. And
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, everyone. I did not give any context into what the heck an annual general meeting is. It is a yearly report out of your work for the year and for the multiple years that your fund has been in existence.
Yeah, I think I love the way you put that, Yasmin, because that is what it is. Everyone wants to make sure you're on your A game to get through kind of every all your talking points. But it's also just great to Sydney's point to bring your investors and your founders together and for everyone to just for a moment breathe and then really talk about what you've been able to accomplish in the year and then really start to think about what potential um, growth opportunities may be in the future. So and Sydney, I had the pleasure of attending your AGM in San Diego. It was amazing. Kudos to you. You and Shruti did a great job. Of course, and then, the dinner afterwards. And again, it was just a way, it really did give that family reunion vibe. And it was not the stuffy, performative AGMs that tend to be more on the East Coast, I think. But, that type of vibe.
This was so
Awesome.
lovely. Oh, good to see you guys again. Looking forward to next week. Until then, guys, bye.
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 And that's the Check Writers Room. Special thanks to Natalia Skoko for editing. Subscribe to our newsletter and view show notes at checkwritersroom.com. Leave us a review wherever you are listening.